3 extra ones.
Oh my gosh, I hate this when I try to get to something, but it wants me to. Okay, I'm not letting in. What are the famous 36 questions? Here we go. Okay. Let's get to them. The questions work. The rules. Where are the questions? There we go. I got them. Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this TikTok Live. I am Tony Overbay, a licensed marriage and family therapist. No cheating on the questions already.
Well, just
you can't
on
look
the
at
first one, I'm already there. Those are the types of questions I hate.
Okay, well, that's what I'm curious about.
So, they stress me out more than anything.
I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. This is Mackie. She is
your kid.
My kid, a licensed cosmetologist, hairapist. Anything else? Jobless. Okay. Okay, but working on that right now. And then behind the scenes we have Sid. What's up, Sid?
What's up?
A little louder.
What's up?
Here we go. Mike.
What's going on?
Okay, here we go. So if you have questions, anything about relationships, mental health questions, get them in. And Sydney is going, I don't have the questions up in front of me. That's why I need the laptop. So we'll pull up that. Or do you want to just tell them to us? Would that be easier?
We can just read them when they come up on the screen.
Well, I like when Sydney then pulls them up though and has them there. So anything relationship wise, I can bring them up. We'll have them right here. But I have something to start with tonight. I have two things. One is I am often asked the question, and tonight this is not to be confused with actual therapy, although I am an actual therapist. But this is just some ideas to hopefully help everybody, do better. Is that fair?
Do better.
Do better. Do you like that phrase though when somebody says do better?
No, because it hurts.
Okay, how come?
Because it feels like I must be doing something so wrong. Like if they say it like that.
Yeah.
Like do better.
It's funny. I had a client say it to me, and I hadn't heard it, even though it's one of those things where I'm sure it's been around for quite a while.
They told you to do better.
They did, and it was good.
Didn't it kind of hurt though?
It did, but it was a thing where I actually needed to do better. I did.
It just would hurt a little bit.
Because the person had asked the question. Well, and
I
I told him I would get back to him, and then I hadn't, and then I in essence just said I was trying to own the fact that I just forgot. And he was just funny. He said, "Do better." And I was like, "That makes sense. I should do that." I mean, it was fair. So okay, well, there's the question though. If it hurts, does it mean that it is something that you could potentially do better with or on?
Probably.
Okay, that's where if it brings up discomfort,
right.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Because if somebody,
okay, truthfully though, no one's ever said that to me in a serious way, so I actually don't know.
Okay, and that's the one time that I had it. It was. Okay.
I've said it to someone.
All right, so I'm curious if anybody here has ever had somebody just say, "Do better," and it does hurt, but there's a little truth to it.
I think Allie said it to me jokingly about texting one time.
Okay, that's the one.
I'm so bad at texting.
Yeah, I mean, and there's the one. Not that I'm trying to be like, "Hey, get your comments in tonight, guys," but the texting one is pretty big though, because I know that there are people that are going to get back to somebody right away, and then there are people that are going to take their own time in getting back to somebody. Tell me more about that, Mac.
I get overwhelmed.
Okay.
I get a text. I get overwhelmed. I want to give it my full attention.
Uh-huh.
And so then I go, okay, I'll do it when I have a minute. And then I get distracted. And then I forget. And then weeks go by. And then it's awkward because it's too late to then text back.
Okay. And that's where I think that if we start to make too much about the fact that I didn't get back to somebody right away. And so I just need to get back to them when I think about it. Is that fair?
I've done better lately.
Yeah, you have. You actually, do better. See? And okay, I have a couple things I want to get started off with, but I like that the question mark, I don't know who they are. I'm in a committed relationship and feel guilty when strangers are attracted to me. So please get your questions in like that. That's a great question, by the way. Any thoughts on that?
It's a good question, but it's not your fault if a stranger is attracted to you.
Yeah, and I think that one, and boy, we could...
as long as you don't do anything weird about it, then I don't see what the problem is.
Well, and I think that's one where... I think that's where somebody has probably grown up with a lot of that. They're doing things wrong just by walking around being them, meaning that their parents have often probably said, "We don't do that," or "What did you do to cause that?" Instead of just like, it's just happening. It just is. So do you see where I'm going with that? I'm talking to you, Mac.
No.
Oh, so it's just...
What did you said?
Yeah, it's just the
like
concept
they
where...
felt like they were, just for existing, they're in trouble.
Yeah, and this is where I talk about the origin story of why we shove our feelings down so often, is because even a good parent goes around trying to, they want to teach their kid how they can, don't do this, this is what we do, sit up straight, we don't talk with your mouth full, tuck your shirt in. And so a parent thinks that they're trying to teach their kid right from wrong. They want them to be the best of them that they can be. But a kid's just kind of walking around just being a kid. Sometimes the shirt's tucked out, sometimes they chew with their mouth open. And so then eventually they feel like...
Shouldn't be allowed to chew with their mouths open.
That's true. That's something that you're not a big fan of, right? but in that scenario though, anything they're doing, eventually they start to feel like anything I'm doing as me, I guess, is wrong. So here's this person, question mark person, just walking around being and doing, and then somebody finds them attractive, and then they feel like, oh, I must be doing me wrong.
It's not like you're putting, I mean, I don't know, but it's not like you're putting something out there and trying to, like, get people to pay attention to you. If you're just existing, it's not on you. That's a them issue.
Now, you bring up a great question, though, because if question mark person is walking around like, oh, I wonder if anybody is digging me right now, and then they feel guilty, a little self-reflection.
More to think about.
Right.
But if you're just doing your own thing and you're committed in your relationship and you're not, like, seeking other people, then yeah, you're not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
You're literally existing.
You're just existing. So, all right, so thank you for getting that question. So get your questions in, and Sydney is going to bring up the questions for us, and we will get to those more. But here's my warm-up. Are there a lot already? Mm-hmm. Okay, so maybe I'll kind of, here we go. Speed run. Well, first I want to talk about this.
How come women cannot apologize?
Is that one of the questions?
That's the first one.
I feel like there's a joke there somewhere.
I apologize.
Do you?
Do I?
Yeah.
Okay, what's he supposed to say?
Gun to my head.
That's right. I apologize, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Yes, you do. You apologize all the time.
I really do. We've talked about this. I apologize too much.
Yeah, you do.
I apologize for things I don't actually have to apologize for.
Okay, well,
because I'm a people pleaser.
Yes, I was going to say now. There's the good question. So the person did say how come women cannot apologize, which is a very, very gross overgeneralization. But I will say that most people fall
gross?
in. Gross meaning large.
Oh, that's disgusting of you to say.
So,
kind of is.
Okay, I was going to jokingly say I'll get the crayons out from my words or whatever.
The crayons out?
Yeah, instead of using the big words like gross. Edit that one out.
Crayon is a word I'm scared to say. Did you know that?
Crayon?
Because I don't know the right way to say it.
I know. Well, as I'm saying it right now, it sounds kind of funny. Crayon? Or crayon?
Crayon?
But
with, tour. Theater. I get scared.
Pillow.
Nope. That's where you're.
Miracle.
No, and you say pin.
Pen.
For pen.
Pen. For real, I like the point that you made, though, about I think that people either do typically over-apologize and they want to just take the blame or take ownership of anything and everything, or they feel like I can't apologize or else the person that I'm in a relationship with will assume that they are always right and I am always wrong. So typically when I have somebody that says my partner never apologizes, that's something they already brought into the relationship, that because that's part of that emotional immaturity, because they've most likely grown up not hearing apologies modeled, first of all. And this is a trip, though. If people are listening right now and they're thinking, well, everybody's going to apologize. I have worked with plenty of people
some people
literally
really
have never, ever apologized. To the point where I've had people...
They don't even know the word sorry.
They don't.
They would not know how to even...
And that's where you get the fight, flight, freeze, the fawn, where you'll watch somebody just go blank, an adult human being go blank, until you eventually just say, well, you know what? Okay, well, we'll talk about it later. And that's a childhood defense mechanism, because at that point, they got through it, right? They were able to get past that moment without having to apologize, and it's so uncomfortable for them to apologize. So I think that's one right there. This one, I saw this one come up. The person said, my parents and I got into a bad argument a year ago, and our relationship is not the same. Help. I want to get your guys' thoughts first. Sid, anything?
I'm not listening.
She's not listening. She said, Mackie, what do you think?
I'm advice.
As your father... That's where I think I was probably looking for validation for you to say, I can't even imagine.
Well, that's what but I feel bad saying that because that's not helpful.
Okay.
If someone's saying, like, this is, and I'm like, I've never had that happen. That's not helpful.
No, it's not, right?
But I don't know because if we have an issue, we talk about it.
I believe it's the great Vanilla Ice that said, if I have a problem, I'll solve it. Do you know Vanilla Ice?
Yeah, but I wouldn't have heard that.
So here's where I go with that, though. If my parents and I got in a bad argument a year ago and our relationship is not the same, actually, Sid and I were talking about this
sad,
off.
Though.
It does.
That was my initial, that's really sad because it doesn't have to be like that.
No, but I will say that it is typically, I go big with the parent is the one that needs to do the work to clear up the discomfort in the relationship with their kid. And I don't care how old the kid is, because I think that's one of the things where if the parent is stubborn or immature, then they just feel like, okay, well, I'm just going to move on. And that's where I will often see an immature version of an adult, a parent, who they're saying, well, I mean, they don't appreciate me, or I'm the one that puts food on the table, and fill in the blank, as if then that gives them the right to then have a really bad interaction with their kid and then not follow up and do anything about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think? Look deep in thought.
Don't throw me on the spot like that.
Okay.
No, I really don't. You need to do it because I don't have advice.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
So to the
I
person
would just
that
say like bring it up. Like if you haven't already,
yeah.
bring it back up potentially.
But know that that's one of those situations where if you are feeling incredibly uncomfortable with it, it goes back to that, what do we do with our discomfort? And if you bring it up and it doesn't go well, then I want you to know that it is perfectly okay for you to want to have a productive conversation when things are awkward with your parent. So you're not doing anything wrong. You're not the one that's broken or crazy. But if they don't respond, or if they respond with I don't even remember what you're talking about, or how come you haven't gotten over that, then that's their immaturity. And what that might mean is that you now, and that's, I think, really hard. Maybe that's the big takeaway, is it's wild when you start to see your parents in a different light, where they aren't the ones that know everything, or they aren't the ones that always have the answers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, again, you've never experienced that,
Yeah,
I know.
I wouldn't know personally.
No, I know that I'm sure that there have been those situations as well. But so again, I think what Mackie and I are both saying is that our heart goes out to you. It should not be that way. And if you want to bring it up with your parents and say something like, hey, I feel like things have been off for the past few months or year, and I would really like to be able to talk about it. Because, and it should not be you that has to go to them, but hopefully that might be something where, okay, because here's the thing that people do a lot too. Tell me if anybody here, or if you've ever done this, where you have, if the other person doesn't bring something up, then you assume that maybe it's not a big deal to them, so I'm not going to bring it up either. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's like you don't know unless, because maybe they're doing the exact same
I think so. Yeah, a lot of times. Because I can think about this past week, I had a couple in therapy, and they had talked about that they wanted to spend more time just kind of talking about some things. They were both navigating a little bit of a faith journey. So this was really interesting. And so then they wanted to talk about it more, but then they went the week and they didn't talk about it at all. So they come back into therapy, and one of the people in the relationship said, can I just bring something up? I thought we said that we were going to talk about things this week. And the other person said, well, you never brought it up. So I didn't know if you weren't thinking about it, because I was thinking about it. So they both just had an awkward week where they were both thinking about it. They wanted to talk about it, but neither one of them wanted to be the one to say it. And so then in the couple session, we just kind of gave each other permission to bring it up. And yeah, so matter of fact, I'll find out this week how that went. So, all right, great question though. Okay. This one's a good one too. I think this one maybe some people in the room can relate to. Somebody said, I've been told by a lot of people I have no filter. Is it wrong for me to hold back and not be me?
You see people in the room as in us?
Wait, who else is in the room?
You're...
No, Sid.
You think Sydney, you have no filter.
No, I'm just curious. Have you ever felt that way though, Sid?
Of course, all the time. Everything out of my mouth is a surprise to me.
Okay. So
I totally relate to that.
just you being you?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I think this is one of those where I talk often about being able to build a pause in before a response. So there is a concept of react versus respond. And so I think often somebody that is told they have no filter is typically more reactionary than responding. And right now, if that is you, because they're saying, is it wrong for me to hold back and not be me? Absolutely not. If you are one who just lives in that reactionary world and you are okay with that, then this question actually just gives you more, validation that no, this is who I am. But if you find that it's a challenge or a problem, then this is good data. This is good feedback if you've gotten that from somebody. So then it's, why do I just react? Why don't I respond? And okay, and tonight's theme, let's go back to your childhood, shall we?
Mine?
Anybody's. Yeah. So the person that just reacts is, I would say often they didn't necessarily feel like they were heard or seen. So when they are questioned, when they feel like they have been done wrong, then that immediate reaction happens, because it's like that might be the only chance they have to be able to feel heard or understood. So they go big with their emotions. Any thoughts?
So not necessarily like a defensive way, just
kind of like it just is at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, but if they feel like, okay, I don't like that about myself, then you can start looking at, all right, I need to start building this pause.
You trying to be funny?
No,
You said build this pause, and then you just froze.
I know. I think I was looking for some more, things said.
I I've said some things.
You have said some things. So I think so there, and then there's another side note where it could potentially also be if somebody if they've grown up and gotten validation as a kid, because they are the one, people say, man, I love the way you just tell it like it is. If they've been told that their whole life, then
they lean into that.
Yeah, because that's where we get our sense of self from the validation, external validation. So let me do this. Let's kind of go a little bit warmed up here. What I was going to start with tonight, and then we'll get back to those questions, is there is an article called "The 36 Questions That Lead to Love," and so here's the thought: is that there is a psychologist named Arthur Aaron, and they formulated what are referred to as 36 questions that lead to love as a way to speed up the process of developing intimacy. And then some people think these questions can help inspire love. And it said in Aaron's study, the questions didn't just help two people get to know each other better, they actually led to marriage for, it says one set of participants. So wait, just one set? And then we're calling it,
one couple happened to get married. And
I'm sure I'm reading that one wrong. Yeah, but today these 36 questions are often touted as a scientifically proven way to forge a closer connection between people. But is that true? Such questions can build trust and closeness in a relationship, but they are not a surefire shortcut to love. So Sydney, I would like to hear your experience. You said you
Yeah, I did this one time.
Okay.
And it did not end in marriage.
Okay, it did not. Do you remember where the question? Did you enjoy digging deep into them? Was it awkward?
No, it was honestly like a really good thing to do. Like it was like a really nice way to just like talk for hours and like get to know random things about someone. But then he ended up love bombing me.
Because do you feel like he was handed the keys to the emotional
pretty
car?
Much. I mean.
Yeah.
But I actually think it's a cute thing to do. But yeah, no, it doesn't always end in marriage.
Okay. All right. So.
It was literally like a dumpster fire.
Okay. So it can either lead to marriage or a dumpster fire. So here are some. So it says, I think this is interesting too. In a podcast episode for Scientific American, the psychologist Aaron explained that the whole purpose of the questions is to help people feel closer in a relatively short period of time. But he said that's not the same thing as being in love. He said love has, sort of another whole component of desire for deep connection. And in the case of romantic love, there's other things involved. So not quite the same thing. So are you ready?
Where can we read the questions?
Oh, where can you read the questions? I'm on verywellmind.com. There's a lot. If you just Google 36 questions for love, yeah, you can join along. Thanks, Gabby, for bringing that up.
Have you heard about the game We're Not Really Strangers?
No. What's that?
I have it. We can do some. It's basically just like it's questions that are just supposed
to
bring you closer, but
Okay.
it's in like a game format.
Yeah.
And then there's like a separate one specifically for couples,
I heard about that.
and then a regular one.
Have you really?
I
Okay.
heard people like cry when they play
Yeah.
it.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you guys
I've
ever?
never done it, but I have it.
Have you heard the one? There's a couple of things. There's one psychologist, David Schnarch, has this concept of hugging to relaxation. So if people are intense, they hug until they lean in and relax. There's another one where you stare into each other's eyes for 5 minutes, and that's.
I think there's some like in the game. Some of the things are like.
Are they really?
Stare for this.
What's the game called?
We're Not Really Strangers.
Wow, we have it.
I have it.
Okay.
Not we. I bought it with my own money.
Really? Would that be awkward to play with your parents though?
No, it's designed to be. It's like play with a friend or a romantic partner or a family member. Like it's.
Interesting.
That's what I mean. There's a separate one that's literally a couples one.
Okay. Oh.
But then this one's just.
So if you
I
and
know I haven't looked though. I really don't know like what types of questions.
Yeah.
But the concept is
Similar. Okay, here we go. Let's go through. And the questions are all broken down. Says into 3 different. I think it's categories. Let's see. Okay, and it says you need to ask the questions in order, which I think is interesting. It says before you start the 36 questions, lay out some ground rules about how the conversation will go. Don't try to spring the questions on somebody who isn't aware of the purpose of the conversation. Talk about the questions first and make sure they feel comfortable having this type of honest, vulnerable conversation. Ask the questions in order. They are structured in a specific order, so it's important to follow along exactly as they're presented. The first set are casual, and they become increasingly personal as the conversation goes on.
This is literally what that game is.
Is
There's
it really?
3 sections, and it's like...
Interesting.
It starts out like more simple, and then it gets deeper.
Okay, and it says when the other person's answering the question, practice listening actively to show that you have your full attention. Maintain eye contact and show that you have genuine interest in what they have to say. Try not to interrupt while they're talking. And I do think I've had a handful of couples where we've gone through some of these in the session. And it is fascinating because how often do you really practice active listening where you're not already queuing up the next thing that you're going to say?
I've never done that before.
You haven't? Okay. Are you always ready? Queuing up the next?
I've thought about it like that before.
I will, honest to goodness, maybe I remember this wrong, but because it was 20 something years ago, but day one of therapy school, they had us do this in graduate school, and they had you pair off with a partner, and you had to just be present and listen, and then try not to be thinking about what you're going to say next. It was crazy. Yeah, it was really hard.
I would explode.
I know, I don't know if I could do that.
Okay.
My anxiety wouldn't let me.
So I like that. If you're not a big fan of active listening, it is something that you can start to practice now, and just notice that I'm wanting to interrupt the person. Notice that I want to say something about what they're saying. And here's where things get really tricky. I know we've talked about this the last couple of weeks, but intimacy, real intimacy, not validation, but intimacy is being able to really ask questions and get to know someone else. But if your immediate thought is like, well, why do you do that? Or I don't think I like that. Or then you're not going to really foster intimacy, because then you're worried. The other person's worried. I don't want to say the wrong thing. And
so it's just not genuine.
Yeah, and so
I like that. Can you talk more about like the difference between intimacy and validation? It's like, how can you tell the difference if like sometimes it's through the same actions too?
Yeah. Well, so the main thing is you're the one that knows, and so often in therapy people will say, but I'm worried about how to say this to somebody, or I'm worried that they'll get angry, or I don't want them to feel bad. So then I'm trying to censor my own emotions or feelings or words in hopes that it won't offend someone else. But I don't even know if it will, or I don't even know if that is what that person thinks. So real intimacy is being able to express yourself in your genuine thoughts and emotions and feelings. But you can see why it's so scary, right? Because if you're going to really talk about things from your heart, and the other person might say, "Oh, I did not know that." That's
like a direct hit at you.
Yeah, it could be
are.
because there's this concept where you're going to hand them over your heart. You're going to say, "All right, is this? What do you think about this?" And if they're like,
"They're just going to step on it."
Yeah, throw it on the ground and stomp on it. Then how often are you going to do that?
Probably never again.
Not very often. And so but here's what's really tricky too. So we got through the active listening, and then the psychologist, Aaron, says, don't avoid sharing your honest reactions and your personal experiences. The purpose of the conversation is to disclose intimate details about your experiences, emotions, thoughts, and aspirations. Honesty is the key to success. So back to what you're asking about, Sid. So I think that part of the challenge is if you have an opinion and you're worried about how somebody else is going to think about it, or what they're going to think about it, then how open are you going to be to sharing it? We talk about this with movies all the time, and we were talking about, we went to lunch today, right?
Talked about it today.
We did, and then I love it.
I came up with it.
Yeah, but we were talking about the Barbie movie, and that was funny. Do we give Bobby a shout out? Where he was he was open with his. He was like, not a fan.
He's like, it was not good.
Yeah, and I was sitting there, and I know I did this because I loved it. So instead of me just going, oh, that's interesting, tell me more, I liked it. I'm like, I liked it, because I'm like, I gotta say how I really feel about it. So it was really funny. Validate emotions, take breaks, and
breaks. What are these questions?
Here we go. Let's get into a few of these. So, set 1. The goal of these first 12 questions is to help build closeness between conversation partners. Note how the questions start out less personal, more like something you might ask someone on a first date before gradually becoming more personal. So if you are listening, think about this. Think about what your answers would be to this. And what I would even like for you to think about if you would feel comfortable sharing this with whoever your partner is, your intimate partner, a friend of yours. And if you notice or find that, oh man, I don't know if I could say this or not, then the big question is why? Why are you worried about how somebody will take your opinion, or if you're worried that they will change their opinion or their mind about how they feel about you? Then there's where we got to question: is that a solid relationship, or is it something that you weren't allowed to think and feel the way that you do when you were growing up? So here we go. Number 1. And it's funny because every time I read this first one, I was like, okay, this one, I don't know.
I hate that question. I don't know. I don't have a good answer.
Given the choice of anyone in the world, with whom would you want as a dinner guest?
My mind just goes, I want Helen Keller just to see if she was faking all of it, or if she was even real. That's
Okay.
my first thought.
So. Oh, look at that. And I'm sitting there invalidating you. I'm like, oh, jeez.
You idiot.
Gosh, Mac. Where, you know what?
I just don't believe she was real.
Okay.
Interesting conversation if it is real.
She can't.
And that's why that's a tough conversation.
Alright, I didn't think about that part. I need some help.
No, but that's
That's
good.
where my mind goes,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. And then I sit there thinking, what is going on with me where I can't even think of anybody? Is that because I'm like, well, who would want to have dinner with me? That's the question.
Interesting.
Right? Yeah, it's like I'm sure I'm on some people's lists.
I don't even. I literally. Actually, you know what?
Okay.
I changed my... Well, if I want to be tender, my grandpa that I never got to meet.
Oh.
That's what
for
I
real,
want.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's really nice.
There we go.
Sid, who would you want as a dinner guest?
Oh my gosh.
Helen Keller, perhaps?
That's really hard.
Okay, anybody here, please. Oh,
Who's your
Lyra
dinner
Rose, thanks for
guest?
the subscription. I appreciate that, for real. Thank you so much for doing that. We're going to do special Q&As, and we'll answer your questions specifically. So thank you for subscribing.
Helen Keller.
I'll add to the list, but you should. They will understand I did that too. Okay, so here's my big question: is anybody here? Who would you?
Michael Jordan.
That first question: who would you want as a dinner guest? And if you're
Mike
open,
said
like
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan, okay, that's fair. Okay, man, I'm struggling to know who.
Helen Keller.
You know what though? Acceptance and commitment therapy is my modality that has changed my whole life. It's changed my practice. The founder is a guy named Stephen Hayes. He said he would come on my podcast. I would really like to know. I would like to hear more about that, because here's a guy that changed a lot of the concepts around therapy and the way that was. Actually, it'd be kind of fun to talk to Sigmund Freud, I think. Because I've heard that we hear a lot about the things that even still are a little bit odd today, but he had a lot of ideas that were really out there.
So I realized I didn't even answer the right question, because it's not the... Normally that question's like, anyone dead or alive. It doesn't say dead or alive.
Oh, it doesn't.
So maybe it's supposed to be alive.
Okay. All right. Here's one I'm really curious. Okay, again, honest thoughts. Anybody here? The second one is, would you like to be famous?
No.
In what way? No. Are
Actually,
you?
a little bit.
Okay, talk about that, because I think this is one.
I would love to, like, if my TikTok happened to go bigger than it was, I would love to just get sent free stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
And just get to post, like, my hair stuff and, like, what I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would not be mad about that, but I also think I'm too sensitive, and if people are mean to me, like,
Yeah.
I've had it even just, I think I have 1,000 followers, and I've gotten mean comments, and they make me really upset.
And I think that's
I don't get over them quickly. So it's like, I don't think I could handle it.
I think that's the thing that I don't think people will
I
ever
want free
understand
stuff.
until they get to that point. I like MJ said Oprah, because I feel she's spoken to so many wise people with unique experiences. So somebody that has done a whole lot of interviews.
She has my disease.
Does she really?
Yeah.
What's that?
Hashimoto's.
Hashimoto's? Okay. Sonia, no, I would not. Let's see, not famous, but I want my art known and to find success in my way as an artist. Oh, Samantha. Okay,
That's really
can we?
cool,
Yeah,
actually.
I would say, can we find your art on your account? Oh yeah.
Exactly.
There we go.
That's it.
There Rose. I want the benefits of being famous without the infamy. That's absolutely.
I want
Yeah,
the free
exactly.
stuff. I want people being nice to me. I don't want any of the other.
Yeah,
parts of it.
but it's funny when you say this though. I always said that I didn't care. You know, I love my therapy world, my therapy practice, my podcast, the audio part of them. I had to do a promo for something earlier tonight, and so there's maybe 10 million downloads in 150 countries, and so I'm like, I'm good, I'm okay. But people don't comment a lot about the podcast. I get emails, but then the second I go on TikTok, and I think the first time that it was a story I told about like taking a vitamin in therapy while somebody was laying on the couch, and it, I got 1 million or so views, but it was like 10,000 comments, and even though 90% of them were positive, that's 1,000 comments of people saying you're a bad therapist, you know.
And it's like that part is I can't do it.
Yeah. MJ, not famous but positive impact on a large scale. I can honestly say that's what I hope as putting out content or podcasts or mental health related things.
That's what you're doing though.
I mean, I hope so, but then when you get 1,000 people telling you like
Yeah.
it is funny, because at first I'm like, I wouldn't care at all.
Views.
And it was fine. It really is. And I think this is one of those things where the more that you're like operating from a true sense of self or confident in the things that you're talking about, then it really is like when somebody's saying, I think therapy's dumb, I used to think I must teach them that I don't think it is. But now it's like, they're not. Cool. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, good for them. Someday they'll tell that to their therapist, I hope.
Brutal.
How I like to look at it is like, if you have a strong enough sense of self and like you truly really know who you are and you're confident in yourself, like it doesn't matter if someone says something good or something bad to
That's
you,
true.
like, it won't shake you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think that I didn't really understand that until we've been putting out a lot of the videos where nothing that we're saying on here is a negative thing. So which one? Okay, Chazzo, you're an incredible presence in this world and on this app. Thanks for what you do. Oh, okay. That makes me get all emotional. So thank you, Chazzo McCharles. That really is nice. That is. I appreciate that. Speaking of these kind of concepts of finding your sense of self, I found a quote from Socrates. Are you ready for this? Do you know who Socrates is?
Philosopher.
Yeah, philosopher. And there was
I didn't know that.
old movie called Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. They called them Socrates. So that always made me laugh.
Oh.
Do you know this?
I thought you just did that yourself.
No. So Socrates says, to find yourself, think for yourself. Embrace your worth and challenge limiting beliefs. Your true potential shines when you trust in your own capabilities. So that alone, to find yourself, think for yourself. So even in these questions, if you're thinking for yourself, the things that the person that you would like to have dinner with, for example, or do you want to be famous, if you say, I would, and somebody else just says, well, that's ridiculous, then if you're coming from a solid sense of self, then it's like, oh, well, tell me more of why you think that I shouldn't be, because that's, I'm actually the one that gets to pick what I want to do. And so that's where you come from. But if you feel insecure, or maybe, don't have a fully developed sense of self, now you feel like you have to defend the fact of why you do, which I think is really interesting. Okay, so the next question. And then we'll jump back in and answer some of these too. Maybe we'll do 2 or 3 of these, then we'll go in and answer the questions in the live. All right. Okay. Before making a telephone call, do you ever rehearse what you're going to say? Have you made a telephone call?
In my whole life?
Or recently?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, yes.
I'm like 30.
Okay. Do you practice what you're going to say?
Yes, every time.
Do you really? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, not if it's like my mom.
Yeah. And then, okay.
But if I have to call, like, make a doctor's appointment or something, like, I 100%
okay.
plan it out.
Do other people do that as well? I mean, I'm saying
I'm
that's...
I'm an anxious girly.
Yeah. Oh, look, people have this one. I think so many people are lacking a true sense of self and are so swayed in their actions trying to fit in. Sonia, that is truth. Chazel, to think for oneself, one first must recognize all the stories others have thought for them. Yeah, absolutely. When you've been told what you're supposed to think, how you're supposed to feel, what you're supposed to do for so much of someone's life, then it is. I mean, I think most people that I'm working with at first say, I don't really know who I am. And MJ, thank you. Have you made a call? So real. I really didn't mean that with love.
No, you didn't.
I did. Today when we were at lunch with Cindy and Bobby and Wendy, and I think Bobby was talking about, there's videos out there where they give somebody a rotary phone and say, how would you make a phone call? Would you know how?
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah. You do one number at a time, you let go. It goes back,
okay.
and you do another, and you let go.
Yeah, absolutely.
I learned at Grandma's house, because she had one.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, suck it.
Okay, and then do you practice on, I sometimes organize stressful conversations in my head, but not a daily task. Let's see, Lyra Rose.
I don't do it for every conversation, but again, like booking an appointment or something, I do.
And I think that practicing the call causes me more anxiety. I just have to call and wing it. Oh, I'm a lawyer, by the way. Okay.
That's me. Like,
that is a good
Sid
point,
too.
though.
Yeah.
But then I panic and they like say hello, and I'm just like,
Okay, but that is funny. I mean, lawyers probably pretty good at that because I would imagine in the courtroom you are an improv artist at times. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Okay, we got some more good questions coming in here too. All right, the next one is what would constitute a perfect day for you?
chilling.
Chilling.
Going to the beach.
Yeah, you like the beach.
Chilling.
Okay. Sleeping in.
Looking at the stars.
Looking at the stars.
Sleeping in.
Okay. Sid,
Eating
perfect
good
day.
food.
Is that your mom's house?
Really, Sydney?
At Grandma's house? That's what you literally said. It's at your mom's house.
Got 'em.
Okay, all right. Let's go
What's
to
your
the
perfect day?
Let's go to the phones,
What's your
shall
perfect
we?
day?
Mine? Okay. Your mom and I and this is gonna sound I love when we have all the kids and we can and we all.
You like when you get away from your children?
No,
huh?
I don't.
You went to Phoenix and left us here?
That was a fun time, but back in the day, we would sleep in like a Saturday morning. We would go on a long run together. Then we would go
still do
get
this.
sandwiches at Porta Subs. We would sneak them into a movie, and then that was pretty fun. Yeah, but it's been so much better once we had all the kids.
Overcast? I'd go, I need some rain in that day too.
Okay.
A good sunset.
My mother-in-law calling me and telling me she was wrong.
Ooh.
There may not ever be a perfect day.
Real.
Right? Yeah, I'm afraid. But
I have to pet some dogs too.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do like that. Okay, let's go to the questions though here, because there's a whole lot here.
So the ones at the top are the oldest ones, and the bottom is the newest.
Okay, I hope that people are sticking around, that they're still here from early on. But we'll answer them anyway, right?
Speed run them.
Speed run them. I start as a first-time manager tomorrow. Do you have any advice for the first day? This is a good question. Anybody?
I've never been a manager before.
Okay.
Deep breaths.
Deep breaths.
It's not that serious.
Oh, that's a good one. in the
It's
grand
not that
scheme of
deep.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. What if they're a manager of like something saving lives? I can't.
But your tiny little tasks, like day to day, not like that,
Yeah.
the little things.
Yeah.
It's just not that deep.
Okay, look, MJ, pet some dogs. I'm new here. Love your daughter. She is me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry about people loving you. Oh, Lyra, I got that one too. Repeat the comment. It's I start as a first-time manager tomorrow. Do you have any advice for the first day?
And also, I would assume, well, I don't know how it works, but I would assume if you're going in as the manager, you've probably already done stuff for that company, or like you have to have some experience if you're going to be a manager. So I'm assuming you've done this before.
Okay, that just
in a smaller scale.
That's a great point though, because I was looking at it.
Okay.
So I was looking at it as somebody that is going into a new environment and they were hired as a manager.
But I'm assuming you have some
just,
form of experience.
Yeah,
Or
but,
they wouldn't have hired you.
Yeah,
Like,
but
there's a reason they hired you.
yeah, and what I like about that too is if you were already working there though, and all of a sudden you're elevated to manager, then people might not take you seriously, and I think that could be a challenge, because right.
Yeah.
But then if you're coming in as
and confidence. Like you know what you're doing.
But again, if they already know who you are and you've been messing around with them and joking around, that could be tough. So you're going to have to, the old set a boundary, not an ultimatum. Boundary is, hey, if you guys can't get serious, then I will have to, versus the, come on guys, knock it off. Because that's never, then they know that they're getting to you. They're pushing your buttons. Yeah. Okay. What is the common most use for people in therapy? Ooh, that's a good one. Because I think a lot of people come in, I mean, I'm a couples therapist, so I get a lot of people that are coming in trying to fix their relationship, which is a admirable goal, but oftentimes they are coming in saying, what can I do to fix the relationship? And if you are that person, first of all, bless your heart, because that means that you care, you're trying. But a lot of times if your partner isn't willing to come in and they're saying, hey, I'm fine, you can go get help, which is a lot of the vibe that I hear, then that already is a little bit of a, we'll call it a yellow flag. Because I can help give you tools of how to stay more grounded, how to be able to express yourself. It's okay to want things in a relationship if you're wanting them from a place of that you know that this will be better for the relationship, more connection, more time together, more curiosity, more intimacy, those kind of things. But if you're doing it from a place of that you're needing them to make you feel better, or you're trying to control or coerce or manipulate, then that's the wrong version of that. But usually if the person's coming into therapy, typically they're the one that I call the pathologically kind, like kindness almost to a fault, where they're feeling like, okay, it must be me, so I'll go in and try to get help for me so that I can show up better in the relationship. But they're probably trying a whole lot of different things to get their partner to change, in essence. But at some point then it's them that will have this opportunity to change, and then it'll force the dynamic of the relationship to change, but that can look a lot different. It doesn't always mean that the other person's going to all of a sudden go, oh my gosh, I see the work that you're doing and I want to do it as well, but it might be you now realize that it's okay for you to want something more in your relationship. So that can be really tough. Thoughts on that?
That was a lot.
Okay, and then also there's a good old anxiety, depression.
Okay, yeah, that's just like if you had to pick one word.
I'd say
like
kind
stress,
of
anxiety, depression, like one of those. What would you
say? Probably a lot of anxiety. Because I will feel like I do think often.
And that's such a broad spectrum.
That's
too.
why I was going to say that.
Ties into so many.
Yeah.
Different things.
Because anxiety, that can look like ADHD. Anxiety can look like when people don't feel like they're living their best lives, they can feel anxious about the fact that I should be doing more.
Kind of
I should be.
Denominator.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that.
Everything you see.
Yeah. Because anxiety is built. It's there for a reason. It's initially there to try to tell you to be aware of something. But
it's trying to keep you alive.
It's trying to keep you alive. And so if you look at it that way, you can have relationship anxiety because you kind of feel like, okay, I need a relationship in order for me to feel complete or whole. Or if it's job anxiety, then it's, okay, I really need to find something that I can provide a living with, or that I can have a sense of purpose for. So yeah, anxiety it's trying. Yeah.
It's trying.
Yeah. But
unless it's hard.
It can kind of be a jerk sometimes though.
Amen
right?
to that.
Can I make a question?
Yes, please.
I have autism and ADHD.
Is this like you, or is this like one that's okay?
And find myself
See what I did?
mourning things in relationships that haven't happened yet. Help.
Wait, I was making a joke. So can you say that again?
I have autism and ADHD and find myself mourning things in relationships that haven't happened yet. Help.
Oh.
And I relate to that.
Okay.
Because, like, a lot of times when I would, like, start talking to a boy, like, I would just create an entire different boy in my head than was actually the boy that I was talking to. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like, it's like there'd be, like, the guy in my head and then the guy that I was dating. They're literally not even cousins, not even remotely related with how different they are. You know what I mean?
So are you creating the narrative in your head of who
I
this
guess
person...
maybe that's kind of a different situation, but just this idea of, like...
Yeah.
Like, going off and, like, getting upset about things that haven't even
Yes.
happened yet.
Yeah. No, I think that's very real. Yeah. And I think that's a little bit of the... I'll often suggest that people put their crystal balls away because they start looking in the future. What if this person says this or if this person does this? So then, have you ever had that experience where you're then going into a conversation already pretty frustrated?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Or I'll have already had, like, 9 conversations in my head about, like, a theoretical conversation that could happen that hasn't even happened, and then I'm all worked up and nothing has even happened.
Absolutely. You know, there's a couple of things. One, and this is I'm going to say a bless your heart, because I felt this one in my adult relationships of where, and it's a waste of emotional calories of trying to figure out what if this person says this, or because I've had some before I became a therapist. I was in the computer software industry, and I would have these relationships with clients or colleagues, and they would say something silly, and then I would just ruminate about it. And I think part of that's it. You just ruminate, overthink, and just wait. I would have entire runs I would go on in the morning where I would just sit there thinking, if this guy says this, then I'm doing this, and it would just ruin my whole entire run. Versus,
and it's like that maybe or probably wasn't even
rarely did it happen. And so I think there's a little bit of that where we just crave certainty, and so and that's probably a little bit of that anxiety where we're trying to like run through all these scenarios that we can then be prepared for. But then why do we always take those, or why do we often take those to the negative? And I think sometimes every time that's a little bit of a survival skill. Where that's the best thing that I think somebody can do there is
be let down.
Yeah, and if you notice, if I'm noticing that I'm feeling this way, or I'm noticing this is a story my brain is telling me, then I can just thank my brain. Okay, you're bless your heart, you're wanting to figure things out, but those things haven't even happened, and then just try to get back to the present moment. I feel like I want to say something more profound than that. You know, I don't know. Have you done that though? Done the overthinking before things happen?
Are you joking?
I love when you say that. I want to hear about your experiences. Yeah.
I'm a very gifted overthinker.
Okay.
Working on it.
Very gifted. Chazla has a great point here. It says, how much of the diagnosis you encounter are rooted in trauma and able to be healed? And I think this is I'm just throwing this out there, bringing awareness to this. I'm not being anyone's therapist currently right now that is here. But I think so many of the things that we're dealing with are, you could throw it in that trauma bucket of just people growing up and not feeling like they were enough, not feeling like they were okay, not feeling like they were heard or understood or seen, or not encouraged to go after the things that they really feel like they want to do. So you've got somebody that, some generic thing where somebody, I'll think of one right now where I had a client that was trying to get into a top 10 business school for their MBA, and they didn't even like business. They were more of a creative type. But they just felt like I can't not do that because I don't want to let my parents down. And they were just so terrified to even have that conversation with their parents. And what ends up happening is that person in particular started to have, so what people often do, it starts with some anxiety where they feel like they're just not enough and something's wrong with them. And sometimes it'll go into a little bit of a depressive state. And then it goes from there into I call it I don't care if I even get hit by a meteor theory, where they're saying, I'm not saying that I'm wanting to not be here. Got to watch it so we don't get shadow banned, is that what it is?
Careful.
Yeah, but then, and I think this is where the brain is a don't get killed device. So it starts with anxiety, does a little bit around depression, it starts to say, I don't even know if I care if something happens, to then where people start to have those ideations. And I think that's their own brain saying, okay, I'm trying to get your attention to do something that matters to you, or to really kind of go after this life that you really want. So I find that when people are able to let go of what people, they're so worried about what people think about them, or that they're doing the wrong thing, or they're doing things because they think that's what they're supposed to do, that you can see some of that anxiety, some of that depression start to alleviate a bit, and they start to really feel like, okay, they're in charge of their own life more and the things that they want to do. Because I feel like we talked about this a little bit last weekend, I think. Because do you kind of feel like you were in a better spot with that? We were talking about how even as of February, you weren't feeling so good about things?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what have been some of the things that have helped there?
Like in terms of what?
Life in general.
Prioritizing my health.
Okay.
Practicing doing scary things.
Okay.
Surrounding myself with good people.
I mean, and if you had that feeling that...
Changing my environment.
Okay. And just feeling like, mate, what if you are okay? What if it's okay to be you?
Yeah. Allowing myself to be okay.
Yeah, and that your thoughts are okay, your feelings are okay. They're there for a reason. And I don't want to speak for you on that.
But yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Wait, say that again. We can isolate that clip.
You're right.
Whoa. Kidding. Okay, here, you pick one here that you can answer.
That I can answer?
Yeah. Ooh.
Oh boy.
Do you like that one?
Oh, I'm good at that too.
Okay. Read that one.
Why do I always self-sabotage my relationships?
What comes to mind?
I've done this.
Okay.
I've done this recently.
Okay. Tell me more.
Okay. I was in a very bad relationship a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Messed me up pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met a guy that's really nice.
Okay.
And then I didn't know what to do with that.
Okay.
I didn't know how to be with a guy that was just really nice.
Yeah.
So I caused problems.
Okay.
Potentially.
Is he in the room?
Potentially.
Okay. Okay, I'm trying to think
So
about...
I would just I got very insecure at the beginning, very like, there's no way this is real.
Mm-hmm.
Because of what I knew from the last relationship I was in.
Yeah.
And how that kind of altered the way my brain worked.
Yeah.
Where I was like, this is too good to be true. There must be something else to it.
Yeah.
Instead of just letting it be a good relationship and letting it be like how it's supposed to be.
Okay, and can I bring up...
And easy and nice and yeah. So I caused problems that did not exist.
Okay.
Because I did not know what to do with being treated right.
I've got a general version of what that looked like. I remember
Okay.
a conversation where it was just that if somebody, let's just say the new boyfriend, the new girlfriend, they don't do something exactly how you think that they should. Right? And then it's like, well, why didn't they do it this way? Why didn't they say this? Or why didn't they,
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's where I think that's where I start seeing a little bit of the self-sabotage.
And so then you start going, well, then there must be something else. There must
Yeah.
be more to it. And it's like, no.
Yeah. So let's just say that somebody is a big, kind of, they like to give gifts and or let's say you like to receive them. You like flowers or something like that. And let's say the other person has grown up and they've been in a situation where that was not done in the home, or they were even told that, well, you don't want to waste money on that, or those sort of things. So then all of a sudden, if there's like a disagreement and then you don't feel so good and there's no flowers the next day, then what do you do?
You assume that then it's something awful.
Right, and then you're saying things like, man,
it's just not that deep.
They should have got me. Why didn't they give me flowers? They must not really care, without even really saying anything, right? Yeah. So.
And then making that a problem when it's like it wasn't like that.
Yeah. Let's see. Kate and Tracy, I self-sabotage all the time. I overthink, and I think that overthinking really is where, because then that's what
I have to catch myself because I'm very good at just
Yeah.
Once a thought's in there, it's hard to reel it back in.
Well, it is, and then and here's where I really.
And it's frustrating too when you know everything's good and fine, and then your brain is still just like, well, actually.
Well, because it's trying to convince you that, but what if it's not?
You're like, well, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, very frustrating.
And that's where, I know Chazal said in there, mindfulness, meditation, but learning to then separate, put a little distance with your thoughts, like notice your thoughts. And that's where it's even like, I'm worried versus I'm noticing that I'm feeling worried. As silly as that sounds, being able to build that space.
Like just acknowledging, okay, this is a thought and it's going through my brain and whatever, but there's no truth to it just because it's there.
Yeah.
And then kind of cutting it off almost.
Yeah, and
at that point, and just being like, this is just a thought passing through.
Yeah, and I love thanking my brain for it.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Those are words.
You're kind of looking out for me a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah, because in the past, I think this is where this is inherently rooted in. If we shove our feelings and emotions down a lot of the times, that now when finally that we're in a relationship or we're about to maybe get a job or we have to do something different or scary, then our brain's like, this might be our chance. Let's just throw all the emotions out here real quick. Yeah. So I think that's really fascinating. I forget what
what was the
what was the question?
Self-sabotage?
I
mean, I feel
self-sabotage
like it depends, but potentially because...
Oh, yeah, there's even a whole other angle here.
It's like, A, you're overthinking.
Yep.
B, it's different, and it's new, and again, you're in a sense overthinking, and your brain is trying to protect you because it's unknown.
Yep.
C, it's a bad relationship and you don't need to be in it, and maybe it's your body like
Okay.
When I was in this bad relationship that I was in, my body physically, like, I was getting physically sick constantly, and, like, physically the worst I've felt ever, and it's like my body was literally rejecting it.
Yeah.
And so it's like that form of self-sabotaging it was for a reason.
It was, right? And I think that's
So it's hard to answer that question, because it's like it could potentially, it's because you're in a good, safe relationship and it's new to you, and your brain is just like not sure what to do with that. Or listen to your gut and get out of there.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
No, it's really good. I mean, there's a lot of different things there. So one is that this was a wild one, that in the world of acceptance and commitment therapy, when we say that the brain's a don't get killed device, that your brain thinks it's working off of this concept where it has a finite amount of electrical activity, and new things take more electrical activity. That's real. So if we're talking about tying our shoes, then it all operates out of this part of the brain called the habit center, the basal ganglia. And the more you habitualize thoughts and things that you do, then they go to this part of the brain where it uses less electrical activity. So your brain's trying to habitualize as much as it can, even thoughts. So if you continually tell yourself that you're a big walking piece of garbage, over time the brain's like, got it, garbage. Like, that one's an easier one, takes less electrical activity. But the thing is, it is a false premise. We do not have a finite amount of electrical activity. So new things are okay, but they are scary. So then a new relationship, all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I want a new relationship, or this relationship feels good. Get a nice little dopamine bump. This is going to be good. And sit back and watch the yeah buts come. Yeah, but what if it blows up in a year from now? Or yeah, but what if they don't like this?
That's the whole side of the self-sabotaging too.
Yeah.
You're opening yourself up to get so hurt.
You are.
And that's really scary, especially when it's going good.
Yeah.
Because that was too, I'm like, oh, this guy's actually really nice. Like, this could actually be a good thing. And then it's like, oh, but what if it blows up?
Yeah.
And then I'm the most heartbroken I've ever been in my whole life. Like, that's terrifying to think about.
It is. And so if it's terrifying, that's scary. If it's scary, then the brain's like,
okay, no, we're not doing that.
So then it'll be like, you know what? Actually, this is probably not going to work. You can't hang.
Problems.
They're bad. Whatever. Can we just get back to doing what we were doing?
Yeah.
Which is it's a trip, because your brain we crave certainty, and so if we know what it feels like to be down, depressed, anxious, as much as we don't like it, this is where you are not your brain. As crazy as that is. So if your brain's saying
it's scary.
It's a trip
about that, because my brain's in there.
I know, and you think it means you well, but it kind of doesn't.
It kind of sucks.
Yeah. Although the more that you start to live as your best life, and the more you get used, this is why discomfort is where growth occurs. Because if we are always avoiding uncomfortable and scary things, then eventually what it feels like to be us is we isolate, we shut in, we create narratives and stories, and then we look for confirmation bias. We look for things to validate that. We'll find a news story. I was talking with someone recently, and they were like, oh, I'll never take an Uber, because I saw a story where there was an Uber guy that offed somebody. I don't know if you can say the word on TikTok. And so then I was like,
I'm
okay,
very scared of Ubers.
Okay, isn't that funny? Not that then that to get rid of your discomfort, go Uber like a maniac. But okay, what's that?
Read the words.
Oh.
Are you kidding me?
Be afraid and do it anyway. You've been making me read cursive upside down.
Good grief.
Yeah, but it's funny. I thought, like, is this a dance thing that we're doing there? Isn't that a whip or a nene? Is that back in the day?
Dude.
That's the whip. Okay, how cool is that?
You're so cool.
I was on a roll there, though. Oh, but the discomfort, like growth through discomfort. And so we go back to self-sabotage. A lot of times self-sabotage just goes ahead and down. Now we don't even have to worry about the future. We don't have to worry about uncomfortable things, scary things. So we can just go ahead and make up stories, believe them, and then we can get back to just doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Which is not good. For the record. Okay.
Yeah.
But you said other things. The whole thing on the self-sabotage is fascinating. Oh, I really like what you're bringing up about. So there's that book, The Body Keeps the Score, by Bessel van der Kolk, and that is all about trauma. We bring our trauma into relationships, and it's childhood trauma, it's relationship trauma.
And it subconsciously hangs around whether you are aware of it or not.
Yeah. So here's where then, but then we got differentiation, which is about growth through discomfort. So I do find that there's a bit of a line between your body keeps the score and telling you this is unsafe versus this is uncomfortable, and so then the yeah buts come, and then I'm going to do something other than this thing that could be an opportunity for growth. So I think that is a difficult thing sometimes to navigate. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, this person said I have a lot of I have a lot of anti-self thoughts. Other than therapy, can I tell you calling my mom helps a lot? This is an interesting thing. So again, not your therapist, but there is, if you've ever looked at OCD of thought, so there's scrupulosity, like religious OCD, or I think it's pure OCD, which is where if you really look at that loop of where if somebody is thinking something and it causes them to feel anxiety, so there's the like obsession, so to speak, of like the thoughts, and then they feel anxious, then the compulsion can be to confess or to have somebody else tell us it's okay, and then it alleviates that anxiety. So that's just something just to be aware of, because I work with people that are navigating faith journeys, faith crises on a pretty regular basis, and a lot of people that are in that situation have this religious OCD, scrupulosity. And remember that OCD attacks what's important to you. So, which is really, I think that's a powerful concept. So if somebody is feeling like they are in trouble, that God's mad at them, or they've done something wrong and they're going to, go to the, I don't know if I can say that word, the outer pit fires of darkness or something, and that makes them uncomfortable, then they need to confess and need somebody else to tell them that they're okay. And this is where I really do have a challenge or a problem at times with just the general version of confession, where if I feel awkward or bad about myself, I need to confess it to somebody so that they will tell me I'm okay. And if you're handing that power over to somebody and they're telling you, then all of a sudden, yeah, you're not okay, then that makes somebody feel worse. But then if you are just feeling bad about something and somebody says you're okay, is that an opportunity for growth through that discomfort? So I think that one's kind of a bit of a challenge. Gerber, great question. Can we sabotage our brains in a positive way? Absolutely, yes. So there's a book, Sid and I were talking about this today. It's The Buddha's Brain, The Neuroscience of Happiness. And that has the concept around the mechanisms of memory. And it's beautiful. So the concept is that when we have a memory, we bring up this flash memory. And then at that point, it's not just like a complete memory, and we pack in all the things that happened around that memory, our feelings that we had, the thoughts we were having, the smells that we had. So if we think about earlier today, we went to lunch at this place that was a brunch place. And so for me, I was excited. I got to meet Mike's mom and boyfriend for the first time. It was like a lot of fun. We had a good conversation. The weather's nice.
It was hot. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but it's been like 130, and that it was a mere 102. Felt like okay. Right? Yeah. But then, and I had a waffle sandwich that was amazing. And so it's like that memory, I packed it in with it. Everything's good. So I put it away. That was an amazing time. So now if we talk about this next week, then it's like, oh, do you mean that fun time where we were all doing this stuff? And so then that's the way the mechanisms of memory works. Now, if I would have had a crummy meal, if I would have put my foot in my mouth a couple times, and Mike's mom's like, oh boy, this guy seems kind of weird. And then if I would have spilled a drink on my lap, and then all those things, then that memory is a negative one. And when I pack that away, tainted. And then every time I bring it back up, then it's like, oh yeah, that time that I spilled the drink on me. Yeah. So when I go speak, a lot of times I'll say, if somebody's having a moment, if they're really feeling something, they heard something tonight. If you heard something that you really like, then open up that chest, take a breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Take in what's around you. Look at the people that are here. What are you smelling? What are you wearing? What's going on? And you can create that memory that when you're going to put that away, it's like, oh yeah, that time I heard the cool thing on TikTok with the bald guy and that sort of thing. So that's the way that you can sabotage your brain in a positive way. Ooh, Chazzel, I'm reading No Bad Parts at the moment. I'm super interested. That is an amazing book, that concept of internal family systems, where, because if you look at that, even the parts of us that are trying to sabotage the relationship, that if you look at that, like that, part of me really doesn't want this to happen. Part of me does. That there is no bad part. So all of your parts, everything is a need-seeking behavior. So that, a sabotage relationship, there is a need there, and that need is that I don't want to risk being hurt. So then that part of you is it's a protector. It's trying to protect you from the potential that this relationship could go bad. There's another part of you that really wants to just lean in, fall in love. That one seems like that's a pretty cool part. And those parts will battle a lot of times. And sometimes I think the one that's a little bit more negative, it kind of wins, unfortunately. Yeah. But Chaz, I'm glad you brought that up, though. The No Bad Parts is a great book, a great concept. Chaz, I had a therapist that asked if we could be friends once I was exiting therapy. Is that weird? A little bit.
Do you have client friends?
Well, it's a great question. So for most therapists, there's a code of ethics that says you have to have a 2-year break. before you
like
would.
if they stopped seeing you 2 years later, you could be friends?
Before you're gonna go hang, and it is because there's a different relationship dynamic there. So I mean, but I've been doing it a long time. I'm in a great place to be able to pick and choose the clients a little bit. So I do really like my clients, and you do get to know them fairly well. But if they said, "Hey, do you want to go to a game together?" I'm probably gonna. Oh, not probably. I'll say, "Oh, yeah, not. We'll kind of keep it where it's at right now." So it's a little interesting. What's funny though, Chazel, is that the therapist is the one that says it. I think, because I've had people. I want to say, I had plenty of people want to be my friend.
Okay.
But I have never been like, "Hey, you want to go like hang out and stuff?" I haven't really done that.
Maybe go hang out.
Yeah, it's like that one's kind of fun. Yeah. Okay. Let's do. What time is it? 9:01. We didn't have to do the puzzle thing. Usually that's after an hour.
Did you start late or something?
No, I think we started right at time. It probably isn't gonna come up any time now. Okay, so let's do a few more and then we can wrap it up. Do you want to do that?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. I think you could answer this one. This one I really do want to know what works for people. Tips for dealing with anxiety attacks when you can't avoid the triggers. Can I address triggers and then you go with the anxiety attacks?
Okay.
So first of all, I just want to mention, I appreciate that, Avery, that you mentioned when you can't avoid triggers, because triggers are, for the most part, unavoidable. I mean, there are times where if you know that this person, thanks Alan for the roast, there are times where you know that if you were going to be in a certain situation that will trigger you. I've got somebody right now that's going to have to go to a party with their ex, that's going to be there with their ex's new person in their relationship. So that one, now we anticipate that trigger. But a lot of times triggers just come out of nowhere. They're the thoughts. You hear a song, you see a food, and that trigger comes.
The sun in the morning.
The sun in the morning, okay. Why do I think of Teletubbies all the time, all of a sudden?
Because there's that baby sun in Teletubbies.
Thank you. Okay. So now, let's just say that then there's the trigger, and now the person's starting to have that anxiety or panic attack. What do you do?
I don't know. I mean, I have dealt with anxiety quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I have my go-to things for panic attacks.
Yeah, like what kind of stuff?
I mean, the biggest thing is breathing.
In what way?
The most, you breathe in through your nose for 4 counts, you pause for 1, you breathe out of your mouth for 8 counts.
Yeah.
And you do that for like minutes and minutes and minutes. And that forces it's like scientific, it forces your nervous system to reset.
It calms your heart rate down, and your heart rate, the more elevated your heart rate gets, the more cortisol, stress hormone that you get, and then that starts to, it takes over your brain. You get into that fight or flight response. Yeah.
Ice pack to the chest.
These are the ones I wanted to hear, because this is stuff that I don't know enough about.
Or even like face in the ice water.
Mm-hmm.
Because it makes your brain like think about something else. Same thing like squeezing your toes.
Oh, I didn't know that one. Okay.
It's just supposed to get your brain off of what you're doing. Like anything like that. Weighted things, again, scientific. I have weighted dinosaurs. Weighted blankets.
Tracy, ice is the best. Oh, here we go. Wait.
Or
there's the puzzle to do.
If you hold an ice cube in each hand and until it melts, and it's like a little bit painful, but you just hold it and you let it melt, your brain just goes to that and like focuses on that.
You focus on that.
Sour candy. Same concept. Your brain focuses.
I feel like that would cause me more stress.
For you, because you're a weenie.
Okay.
When in February, when I was not okay and I was anxious every second of every day, I had so many warheads. You did? It was insane.
Those are crazy.
But it helped.
Spidey Jeep wants to know the breathing counts. And before we get too far past there, too, Gerber, hear music at 432 hertz frequency. Oh. That stuff is pretty cool.
My therapist told me, I never ended up doing it, but she said that there's like, if you do that, like the... Yeah. What is it? However, the beats and whatever.
I do the binaural beats for me.
If you make a playlist, though, and you start it off with, like, a quicker speed of it, and then each song gets slower and slower, and it, like, forces your everything to calm down with the music.
Look at that frequency stuff, though, because that was something I learned a couple years ago. Yeah, and it's like, it's the reason why when you are by the ocean, where it can be really calming, because you've got different, basically, frequencies of sound that are hitting your ears, or a bubbling brook, or those sort of things. And that's just really cool. Okay, what were the breathing counts again?
In for 4, hold for 1, out for 8.
In for 4, out for 1, hold for...
In for 4, in through your nose for 4. Then you pause, just for a second, and then out for 8. Nice and slow. The key is the exhale has to be longer, because that's what slows your heart rate down. Like, that's just if you're trying to slow your heart rate down, period.
Okay. Okay. Chazel, tip.
Exercise does actually help a lot, I think.
That's
it seems like it wouldn't
go-to.
because it's
Yeah.
It
Or,
increases
like,
your heart rate.
like an idiot.
Yeah.
Dancing like an
anything
idiot?
Like
that
that
seriously helps me.
Have you
But
done that,
seriously?
Sid?
Of course.
Oh, I want to see you dance.
You
All
do that in
right,
Grey's
turn that
Anatomy.
camera around.
Okay, okay.
But do you remember when I taught you a TikTok dance one time?
Oh, you know what's
COVID?
funny? I didn't know what TikTok really
That's
was
funny.
at that
I know,
point.
That was back in the day.
Yeah, but because I thought it'd be fun, and then that's where I realized I cannot dance.
Yeah, neither can I. Thanks a lot.
None of us could. That's my bad.
That's
Yeah.
the point, though. It's just like getting your energy, like
No, but
getting
that's the
that
thing.
like tight,
Yeah.
fiery energy, just
Yeah.
like out of
Yeah.
you.
And I think when you're doing something intentional that gets your heart rate up,
Yeah.
it helps. Like, it
That's-
almost
yeah.
shifts it in your brain where it's like, oh, my heart rate's supposed to be up right now because I'm running.
Yeah.
So then it takes it away from, like, it's because I'm panicking. You know?
Can I be very vulnerable with something that just happened a couple weeks ago? So I'm
Nice.
running. I'm out on a run. It's a longer run. It's 100 and whatever, 50 degrees here in Arizona, and I'm on this long stretch. But I was feeling it, and I had this music going, and it was like to a beat, and I have no rhythm at all. But it just was getting me in a good way, and I wanted so bad to be able to run and do these drum beats. I had the water bottles in my hand, and these cars are coming, and I tried it a couple times, and I realized I have no rhythm whatsoever, and it was a very humbling time.
Sydney, do you have any ghost stories?
Oh my gosh. Well, okay, I have two that like aren't actually ghost stories. They're just me being dumb. But the first one.
Okay, wait. Let me turn this toward you. Okay.
It
Ghost
was
stories, Sid.
literally when we were walking in here. Neither of these are ghost stories, you guys. I'm just talking.
What about the one where we almost got your plant? I thought that was the funny one.
That was the first one. I was convinced there was an entity in our house because I lost my potted plant. Like, you guys know how much I lose everything, but like this
How
one
do you
was
lose a
actually
potted
really
plant?
crazy.
I know this
Yeah.
is tell this because I was very confused.
So I got a succulent because they're like the least hard thing to keep alive,
Right.
and me and him were like close pals, best friends
What'd
for
you
like
name
a week. I forgot.
Oh, okay.
We're so close.
Because of this traumatic event, how could I remember things like this?
Okay.
So then one day I go to water him and he's just completely gone, like actually gone.
Like out of your pot, or the pot's gone?
So the pot was like on the floor and then the plant was out of the pot and it was just completely missing. And like the dogs didn't do it. There was no dirt anywhere. Like it literally did not make sense at all. And then it turned out that it was just like my entire plant was just like shoved into the crevice of my bed, and there was like dirt all over everything. Dude. But my plant's still alive.
Okay.
Which is great. No
Yikes.
ghosts. But then what was weird also was I went out to get Mackie.
Oh yeah,
today.
just
yeah.
now. This just happened.
I went out to get Mackie, like to let her in the door. Like we
And
both.
it's a direct hallway. Like
Yeah,
it's
there's
the
not-
door, hallway, turn, and then you're here. Like
Yeah.
there's no other ways to go.
And I go out to get her at like the same time that she's coming in, I guess. But we never cross paths. And so I'm just outside alone, like, where's Mackie? And Mackie was already inside.
One of you guys a ghost?
Oh my gosh, Mackie's a ghost. That literally answers
But what
every
about
question
Mike?
about everything. No. He's probably your ghost friend who you brought along.
You can touch her.
So it's like nothing with ghosts. I think we're just a little dumb over here.
Why is
I don't
that?
know. I lost my plant.
Oh, okay. Okay.
In the crevice of your bed.
That is pretty funny. All right, what time we got? 5 more minutes. Let's see. Look on here. Anything else? Social as a creator.
Answer our questions.
Oh, wait, do we? Or no, yeah, that's what we're looking right now. Yeah. Somebody just real quick, I always enjoy these. How do you compare your work versus as a psychologist? So I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and a clinical psychologist does more of the psychological testing. They charge more, but then they can do things like psychological evaluations for court, that sort of thing. And so and you get your PhD. So I've got a master's in counseling, but you have to go on and get your PhD to be a clinical psychologist. And then you work with a lot more of the maybe serious psychiatric disorders, where I'm doing more of the marriage and family therapy, counseling, that sort of thing. So I really enjoy what I do a lot. Let's see. Oh, here we go. They said this is silly, but I bailed on too many appointments with my therapist. Should I try to reconnect? That is a great question. First of all, do you feel a connection with that therapist? Because there's some good data out there that says that the relationship with the therapist and the client is even more important than the modality that the therapist uses. Because if you don't feel a connection with your therapist, if you don't feel like you can connect with them, then you're less likely to open up. and it can be odd. I mean, it really is. You're going in to see somebody you don't know, but the more that you can trust that this is what they do and that they can help, and you open up, then the more that they can help you. So if you don't feel a connection with that therapist, it's perfectly okay to just move on and find another therapist. The therapist should understand that. But if you are not showing up or bailing because it's uncomfortable and maybe you're afraid to really open up, but you don't mind that therapist, then absolutely try to reconnect. But just know that this is what the therapist does for a living, and it's really difficult because when you get those last minute cancellations, most therapists have a 24 or 48 hour cancellation period, but we're in this job because we really want to help people, and so it can be difficult to enforce that. So sometimes, people do get away with not showing up a lot, and then that can be really tough for the therapist. So if you really want to go back and you really are looking for help and you feel a connection, then reconnect. And if it's you want therapy but you don't necessarily want it with that person, no problem at all to find another therapist. This one's, hey, I want your guys' takes on this one. Tips on going through pet grief. Because I've got my own trauma because both of our
very traumatized.
Well, because that's the part where as the dad, you're supposed to just like play it cool. I remember the time that I came home and everybody came home from school and it was like Chloe, right?
Yeah. It was
yeah, and then you guys like we cried, and then I was just like, okay, I'll go to the vet, and oh my gosh, I think about that all the time when somebody brings up like right now, right?
Yeah.
So any tips though on that how to deal with that?
You're the one with the trauma.
Well, okay, that's a fair point, because in my mind, I guess I talk about it all the time. So
yeah, and I haven't experienced like knock on wood type of thing, but both of the dogs that I've lost, it was time,
Mm-hmm.
Like they were hurting, so it was time.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and so it's like there's that side of it where you can be like, we had a good happy time together, it was tender. Are you gonna cry?
No, I'm thinking, do you know the story about, because Chloe had the collapsed esophagus and she had those pain, like those, but she had the pills that would relax her a lot. And did I ever tell you the story of when I gave her too many because she was like going down fast and she woke up the next day and she couldn't move her back legs?
No.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, she was having a rough night, like with the cough thing, and I was up late with her, and we had a lot of them, and it didn't look like she was going to last much longer.
Yeah.
So I like doubled or tripled up those bad boys with some cheese and gave them to her, and I was like, oh man, they're there,
I feel like the best gift, we can end their pain.
I know, right?
So
and so she woke up the next day though, and she kind of couldn't move her legs. I'm like, oh, my bad. Like I gave her a little too many.
Dogs go to heaven.
I've heard that. Yeah. Yeah.
But so I don't know like unexpected pet grief, I guess, is my point.
Yeah, but it's
but
real.
To know that
it's
you
so
gave
real.
them a good life, and like you were their whole world, and it's very tender.
Yeah.
To think about it that way.
And I guess that's one of those where, when you deal with grief and loss as a therapist, I mean, there's the cliche, but it's so true, is that there is no right or wrong way to go through the grieving process, and you don't know what that will be like.
Like it's hard, and it's okay. Like I feel like some people try to downplay it, but it is. Losing a pet is really hard.
Yeah, it is.
And so if you're really hurting, like that's normal.
Yeah.
That's allowed.
I agree. Yeah.
So it's like you let the grief journey do its thing.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
There's those stages of grief and loss. It's the acronym DABDA: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And it's not an evidence-based model. This Elizabeth Kubler-Ross came out with it a long time ago. But I think it's a nice muse on how to deal with it. So the denial, the anger can be really like why, but the one that's pretty not underutilized, but not spoken about enough, is the bargaining, because that's one where we go back and say, man, if only I would have done this, if I would have paid more attention, if we would have gone to the vet more, and that's just wanting to try to make sense of things, and it's also has a little bit of that part where we almost want to take ownership of things because we feel like if we can, then if I could have done something, I could have made a bigger difference, rather than just the world or the universe can be a little bit random, and that can be scary for people. That really can. Giving her peace is a gift, though. I like that. All right, we have, what time? Okay, last question. Well, let's go to the procrastinate. Someone just said, I procrastinate a lot. Anybody here procrastinate?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did my whole life. My whole schooling. Don't do it.
Okay, just knock it off.
Quit that.
Okay. I have a theory here, so I'll end big.
Oh, and I do this when I sleep.
What? Procrastinate?
No, when I have if I have something in the morning that I don't want to do, I stay up really late because I don't want it to come fast. Like, I don't want the morning to come Mom gets mad at me about it.
Yeah. Mom gets mad at you?
Yeah, because then I'm tired the next day, but it felt like longer because I wasn't sleeping.
Okay.
Like pushing away the inevitable.
Okay. Pushing away. And that's an interesting one, by not going to sleep.
And then I end up more tired, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah. Which then you wouldn't...
It's a real problem of mine.
Yeah. That is interesting.
But,
okay,
what's your theory?
So I believe that we almost get a little bit, and as an ADHD guy, you get a little bit addicted to the dopamine dump of procrastination, and so then it works until it doesn't. So when people they're used to, then you hear the people that say I work best under pressure, because I felt that way, or if you have let's say a paper to write and it's due Thursday night, you got to turn it in. So then you wait until early in the day Thursday to do it. But then here's the bigger theory. So there's almost like an acceptance that that's just how we're showing up right now, because I feel like it's a real challenge to try to pretend that the deadline's earlier. That doesn't seem to work very well. When somebody says,
pretend that it's
when somebody says I'm gonna tell myself that the deadline is,
how Mom would make our clock 5 minutes faster our whole life.
I mean, well, I'm talking more like if you say, you know what, I'm going to pretend it's due on Tuesday instead of Thursday.
Your brain still knows it's
your brain's like, I'm not falling for that one.
Yeah.
So in that scenario, what I do kind of think that if people accept the fact that they're not going to start till Thursday at 5 o'clock and it's due Thursday at 9, rather than what I will find a lot of people will do is they will sit down at their desk Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and they're saying I'm gonna get on this thing early, but instead they're still like checking TikTok and playing games and watching one more episode of something, and so then they feel worse because then they say, man, I couldn't even do this, but tomorrow I will, and then the next day they don't, and so by the time Thursday happens, they do it the same time anyway. That I kind of feel like if you accept the fact that, all right, I know me well, I'm not gonna start doing this thing until Thursday at 5 o'clock anyway. That then Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, you do things that raise your emotional baseline. The self-care stuff. And
then you're ready to.
Yeah, you interact with friends. You're not beating yourself up. And then I remember the first time I was talking about this, where somebody said, "Oh, so will you start it earlier then, like Wednesday night?" It's like, no, you still do it at the same time. That was a nice little thing on your head, right? Okay. Oh, that was Real Nerd. Hey, what's up, Real Nerd? All right. Thanks for the heart. Yeah. Okay, everybody. Great to see you. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mac.
What did Mike do?
I didn't do much.
He said some things. Yeah. Sid, anything before we go?
Let's go.
Okay. Sid says let's go.
Can't wait to talk to you guys soon.
Okay.
Sydney's gonna be right here next time.
Once I wash my hair.
Okay, talk about that. Okay.
Why?
Well, because you said it, literally. I don't know if this washing one's hair, as you speak of, what's the ideal as a cosmetologist?
I was always told that going like once a week or longer is better, and I think it's kind of flipping now, and people are saying it's actually not bad to wash your hair at all. And if your hair's dirty, you should just wash it.
Sid, your thoughts?
But so there's both sides of it, because there's like your natural oils and stuff are good.
Okay.
So you don't want to wash it so frequently that you're not allowing those oils to do anything.
That's what happened to mine.
That now look at you. But there is now, I think, a view of like if you're going 10 days or more, it's actually just kind of gross.
Oh.
Like it's not helpful at that point. It's just gross.
You good, Sid?
I don't know.
No, I'm gross.
But I used to go really long. I went like 2 weeks one time without washing my hair.
Did you?
When I first thought that was a thing.
Okay.
Now I do it like every couple of days.
What is the dry shampoo stuff?
It just absorbs the oil. So it makes it look not like this.
Does it like...
But then there's product buildup in your hair, and that's gross too. So then it's like, if you're just doing dry shampoo to make it last longer, it's just gross at that point.
I didn't know Real Nerd was bald as well. There we go. Yeah, we don't have that problem. All right, thanks everybody. As always, thanks so much for your questions. Over 10,000 likes tonight, and appreciated that. And thanks for all who joined and commented. And then we'll get this video up soon, Sid?
Yes, tomorrow. And then you'll have another video up in a couple of days, like the interview of you and that dude.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That'll go too.
Okay, the interviews coming up, all that kind of stuff. Follow me here, and then on Instagram at virtual.couch, and then podcasts, Virtual Couch, Waking Up to Narcissism, Love ADHD, a bunch of podcasts one of these days.
Mind the Mirror and Me.
Mind the Mirror and Me. Go find that. That's Mackie and I. And where are we going to come back anytime soon? Okay. Stay tuned. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night. See you next time.
It's what it's all about.